She's the punk rock trailblazer who transformed music, fashion, and attitude, rising from gritty New York clubs to international fame. Debbie Harry didn't just front Blondie, she helped define an era. Her impact, undeniable. But what does life look like for a rock legend decades after her rise? With an estimated net worth of $30 million, a chic mansion worthy of a style icon, and a garage full of sleek, head-turning cars, Debbie Harry's life today is as captivating as her music ever was. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on the Queen of Cool, exploring her wealth, her striking home, and the killer car collection that proves punk never went out of style. Before she was Blondie's fearless frontwoman, Debbie Harry's journey began far from the spotlight. And her path to fame is every bit as fascinating as the persona she created. Debbie Harry's story begins far from the stages of New York's punk rock scene in sunny Miami, Florida, where she was born Angela Trimble on July 1, 1945. Just 3 months into life, she was adopted by a New Jersey couple, Richard and Catherine Harry, who gave her the name that would later blaze across concert marquees, Deborah Harry. Growing up in the suburban town of Hawthorne, she lived a fairly quiet childhood and graduated from Hawthorne High School before heading off to Centenary College in Hackettstown. There, she earned an Associate of Arts degree in 1965, an academic footnote to a life that was destined to be anything but ordinary. New York City was calling, and Debbie answered. She took a job as a secretary at the BBC radio offices in Manhattan, but her path soon detoured into a series of roles that only added layers to her mystique. Waitress, go-go dancer, and even a Playboy bunny. The city had many faces, and Debbie seemed to try them all on. Her entry into music was as eclectic as her day jobs. In the late 60s, she sang backup for the folk rock group The Wind in the Willows. In 1974, she joined a glam punk band called the Stilettos. That collaboration eventually gave way to a new group she formed with her boyfriend and musical partner, Chris Stein. They first called it Angel and the Snake, but soon they embraced a name that stuck and screamed attitude: Blondie. The name was inspired by Debbie's platinum hair and the catcalls that followed her down the street. Blondie quickly became a staple in New York's underground scene, regularly playing iconic clubs like CBGB and Max's Kansas City. By 1976, Blondie released their debut album, a modest success that hinted at something bigger. The next release, Plastic Letters, gained more traction, but it was 1978's Parallel Lines that exploded, catapulting the band to international fame. That album gave us Heart of Glass, a disco-tinged new wave anthem that hit #1 on both sides of the Atlantic and sold nearly 2 million copies. Blondie wasn't just riding the punk wave, they were bending genres, challenging purists, and dominating the charts. Eat to the Beat came next, and then 1980's Auto-American, which pushed their sound further, featuring The Tide is High and Rapture, the latter being one of the first mainstream songs to feature rapped lyrics. Debbie Harry's solo, Ambitions, took center stage in 1981 with the release of Cuckoo. It was bold, strange, and visually arresting, featuring cover art by the legendary H.R. Giger that showed Debbie's face pierced with metal rods. The album went gold in the US and silver in the UK, and the lead single Backfired made it clear that she wasn't just the voice of Blondie, she was a force on her own. Blondie returned for a brief moment in 1982 with The Hunter, but it didn't hit the mark. After the band dissolved, Debbie took a step back from the spotlight to care for Chris Stein, who was suffering from a serious illness. Still, she released dance-floor-ready singles like Rush Rush and Feel the Spin, and eventually returned with her second solo album Rockbird in 1986. Though it didn't chart high in the US, it had legs in the UK, where French. Kissin' in the USA became a top 10 hit, and In Love with Love climbed to #1 on the dance charts. Her solo streak continued with 1989's Deaf, Dumb and Blonde, which produced the radio-friendly I Want That Man, and other hits like Sweet and Low and Maybe for Sure. Touring followed, and with her bandmates, including Chris Stein and Lee Fox, Debbie proved she could still captivate live audiences worldwide. Another solo album, Depravation, followed, and she began guesting with other artists, keeping her presence alive in the music world. Then came the comeback. In 1997, Blondie's original members reunited, and 2 years later, they dropped No Exit, featuring Maria, a track that surged to #1 in the UK, 20 years after their first chart topper. In 2003, they released The Curse of Blondie, and Debbie kept going solo as well, releasing Necessary Evil and later Pollinator, showing that even after decades in the business, she still had something new to say and a style all her own. From orphaned beginnings in Florida to the spotlight of rock stardom, from punk provocateur to dance floor diva and back again, Debbie Harry's journey has been anything but linear. She's not just a music icon, she's a shapeshifter, a survivor, and a woman who has always been 10 steps ahead of the times, even when the world wasn't quite ready for her. In 2016, Debbie made a picturesque real estate investment with the purchase of a historic 18th-century colonial home nestled in the rolling hills of Roxbury, Connecticut. She paid $785,000 for the property, which sits on a sprawling 26-acre estate, a true slice of New England tranquility. The home is a beautifully preserved example of early American architecture, complete with classic clapboard siding, multi-paned windows, and a central chimney, all echoing the charm and craftsmanship of the late 1700s. Inside, the residence offers a warm and inviting atmosphere, likely featuring wide plank hardwood floors, exposed beams, and antique fireplaces that speak to its historic roots. While rich in character, the home also includes updated amenities that make it perfectly livable for modern tastes. The expansive acreage offers not just privacy, but a true country lifestyle. The land includes open fields, stone walls, wooded areas, and perhaps even a small pond or barn, creating a setting that is ideal for nature lovers, artists, or anyone seeking a peaceful escape from urban life. The grounds are well suited for gardening, hiking, or simply enjoying the changing New England seasons in serene solitude. In November 2023, Debbie listed the home for rent at $6,000 per month, offering others the opportunity to experience the charm of rural Connecticut living. Whether used as a weekend retreat, a full-time residence, or a creative hideaway, the property offers a rare combination of historic character, natural beauty, and modern comfort. In the electric chaos of New York's mid-1970s music scene, Debbie Harry's path crossed with that of guitarist Chris Stein when he joined her band, the Stilettos. Their connection went far beyond the stage. As creative partners and romantic companions, they quickly became a duo in both art and life. Together, they would go on to form Blondie, a band that would change the sound and face of punk, pop, and new wave. But behind the glamour and glory, there were shadows. While living together during those early, uncertain years, Debbie and Chris experienced a terrifying ordeal that would leave a lasting mark. One night, their home was broken into, and during the robbery, Debbie was raped at knife point. She has spoken of the trauma with honesty and courage, never allowing it to define her, but refusing to bury it in silence. It's one of many reminders that beneath her fearless stage persona stood a woman who had endured unthinkable violence and kept going, unbroken. Their romantic relationship lasted through the rise and fall of Blondie's first era, and after more than a decade together, they quietly parted ways in 1989. Yet the bond between them endured, not just through music, but through something deeper. Debbie remains a part of Chris's life and is even godmother to his two daughters. Though their love story transformed, over time, it never truly ended. It simply evolved into something more complex, more lasting, and, in its own way, just as meaningful.